for those who don't know, I am the brother referred to earlier. I worked at Green Trails 63 until 72. And we do have a couple of people here that worked in the barn also. Stuart Oja is here, and yes, Brother John was the boss of the barn when I went there. Mike, who is Dorcas's son, worked in the barn also. There may be some other people, but and Fuzzy back there, Elaine Cook, we couldn't get rid of her. She was around all the time. But yeah, Fuzzy became a mascot, I think, of the barn with her pony. Just to go back to Walter Gropius, perfectly fascinating individual, and as Ducky said, he could barely walk out to the horse. But once on it, he was in the Prussian Lancers in World War I, and when he got on that horse, it was rigid back, up straight, and he and the horse had an instant connection. I don't know what I had done at the time to irritate Jessie, but she assigned me to Walter Gropius and his wife, which wasn't Alma, but it was down the line, one or two. And whatever her name was, she loved to talk. And she talked every ride, the whole ride. And Walter would go off and do his own thing. And Jessie said, let him do what he wants. He wants to canter, let him canter. He wants to trot, let him trot. Because we had kind of a routine of there were certain places we asked them to trot, some places they cantered. But Walter could do what he wanted to, and he and the horse had a instant connection. Very fascinating, and little did I know at the time that he was a famous person until later in life. But yes, it was interesting working there. Jessie was a character, unlike most of you have never met. She had talked about the hired man, George Fulham. Well, she had several, and the one that we worked with was Earl Hodgson, and Earl was a character also in his own right. Interesting community at the time, and Bree, I encourage you to continue this project with the oral history, because one thing I remember distinctly was when my parents owned the store. In the wintertime, there wasn't much going on. John Harford would come in, Bill Keyes would come in, and Dad would sit around the stove and tell stories of the 30s or earlier. And they were never recorded, and John Harford refused to be recorded because he said some of the relatives are still alive. But I don't remember a lot of those stories, and this is a treasure that should have been recorded at the time, because it was history of Brookfield that we can only imagine at this point. So I applaud what you're doing there. The other thing, and my last comment, is Tev Kelman and I, it's a circle that's come around. I was principal in Brookfield Elementary School. I left, went to Thetford, worked with Tev's parents. His dad was our gifted and talented teacher. His mom was the headmistress at Thetford Academy. So now,
and both my brothers, you were the principal. Yeah. I just missed you, narrowly missed, kid.
So it's just amazing to come here and see this and have his connection and Bree's connection, and I just encourage this to continue. And I'd like to have Stuart say a couple of things, because he was there a year before I was, and he worked with his brother longer than I did. So, Stuart.
Well, when you first asked me to share memories, I don't know where to begin, because Green Trails was a place, like a community all its own, and there are so many memories. Jessie always impressed me as a person. She could adjust to anyone's personality, any level. And so that always kind of amazed me. If you were just off the street, she could have a good conversation with you, and if you were a Dr. So-and-so, she certainly could as well. Working there was, I've been thinking about this the last few weeks, and you couldn't call it work, really. It was such a joy. We got there in June, first part of June when school got out, and we had trails to clear out, and we'd go out on the trails, and Miss B pack our lunch, and off we'd go with nippers and everything, and come back in the afternoon and do chores. People were paying to do this kind of thing, and we were doing what we love to do. I mean, we rode horses like 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the afternoon, did our chores, and by 4:30 we were swimming in the pond and came back in, and then we'd go down and get dinner. And I could just go on and on. The unique part about it for me was when I came there and I worked for the summer, I had no idea what I was going to make. I had no idea until I left. And Jessie would have you down and she'd write you a check. And if you needed $10 sometime during the summer, you just go see Jessie and she'd give you the $10 deducted at the end. But you didn't need any money. That was our life there. Our social life. Guests came, they brought, they had children. And some of them were our age and some of them were girls. And it was just, I remember one time we were trying to figure out how we could get a day off, because this was every day. And we worked at it, and so we got everything covered so one of us could take a day off. So they had their day off, and by noon they were back at Green Trail. So we said, well, this is ridiculous, because this is our life. We didn't realize it was our social life, it was just everything. So that was the real pleasure, and the memories are just so sweet. Met wonderful people, worked with wonderful people, and a lot of Brookfield kids, I guess you call them, worked there. And met some really good, made some really good friends. There's a lot of good stories I'm not telling anybody. But it was quite an experience, and it was kind of unique in that guests would arrive, and some of them came by train, and Jessie would go down, or some of us would go down and pick them up and bring them back. Most of them drove. But met some really interesting people as guests that came back year after year. So it's just, it was an amazing experience for me. I grew up on a farm in East Brookfield, and back in my youth in East Brookfield was another town because we lived in East Brookfield, and that was a farm community, and so it was like, it felt like another town. So. But anyways, it was Jessie was an unbelievably great person. I'm jumping around on my stories here, but rainy days would happen, and we'd say, yes. No rides are going out today, but we had also learned that on a rainy day, you didn't just go back up to the boys' quarters and lie down. The first thing you did when the chores were done was start cleaning tack. And you'd clean tack, and when you got that done, then you could go up in the boys' quarters. But Jessie would be checking on you to see, is the tack clean? And if it was, she was done. But she had her bedroom, we had a wall between her bedroom and the boys' quarters. And I don't think that was by accident. We got told once in a while to calm down. But it was a great place, and it's a great part of Brookfield's history. I was only there for 4 summers working, but yeah, it was a pleasure. I have tremendous memories.
Thank you.